years and years ago, before many of us were even born, this commit was made to Sudo in 1993. This was well into the life of Sudo, which had been around since around 1980 or so. But in this update, a notorious line of text was added. That would be this one here. %s, which in this case is the user, is not in the sudoers file. This incident will be reported. This has been the butt of many a jokes, most notably XKCD 838. So Rob M here at his home box, sudo su, which by itself is just a great command. Rob M is not in the sudoers file. This incident will be reported. Hey, who does sudo report these incidents to? You know, I've never checked. And then right hand side you have Santa with a naughty and nice list. But over the years, this has led to quite a bit of confusion. A lot of people didn't know who this was being reported to. There have been memes made about this. There have been questions on Ask Ubuntu. And it just didn't make any sense to a lot of people. Following this, last year in 2022, the message was finally removed, before being added back a couple of weeks later, this time with a slightly less menacing sounding message. This incident has been reported to the administrator, and if we are talking about a local system, about a desktop system, you are probably the administrator. But it doesn't change the fact the underlying functionality hadn't actually changed. The incidents were still being reported in the exact same way. So that raises the question then, how were the incidents being reported? Who were they being reported to? And where can you actually see the reports? Well, in one case, someone actually took the reports and made a Twitter bot, and you can go back and check through some of these. It's not been updated in 3 years, but some of these are kind of hilarious. Some of these commands in here just don't make any sense. I have no idea what people were even trying to do. Like this person here, who was going to run ls as sudo. Why? I don't know. But that's just a one-off case. Most of us don't have a Twitter bot. The more general answer put in the simplest form is the incident is reported to the system administrator or whatever person is in control of the root account. Now, the way this is done is very different in the modern context than it would have been done in a more traditional context. So on a home system, you are very likely both the root user and the regular user. But if we're talking about education, business, or any other context, that's probably not the case. There's probably a big system that everyone hooks into, or maybe little systems that are managed by some separate entity. Regardless of how it's managed, if you go to a school, for example, and they have a Linux computer lab, it's very unlikely the regular students there are going to have access to the root account. This style of managing computers has been understood for a very long time. And back then, people understood you need some form of asynchronous communication system to pass around messages about things happening on your system. And that's how we got the Unix mail system, a form of email. Now, email back then was a lot simpler than what we see today. It's none of that Gmail nonsense where it basically pretends to be email. Now, whilst I say email, I don't necessarily mean the internet has to be involved. If we're dealing with an older multi-user system, you probably have the root user and then multiple users all logged into the same system. In this case, the email can just be sent locally, and traditionally, this would be sent to the root user's account. This would be stored in /var/spool/mail/root. And other users would also have their own email accounts at /Brodie, /whatever your name is, Tom, /Steve, so on and so forth. Now, you can set it up to send an email out over the internet, but that's a lot more complicated, and if you didn't need the internet, you didn't use the internet. And traditionally, this is the folder these incidents would be sent to. The issue is this is a weird mailbox that you're probably not gonna check. So even if you have it set up to have the incidents being reported over email like this, you're probably just never gonna look at it. So you can have it set up to send it to a proper email box as well, where you might actually see it. Now, here's the problem. If you check this location on a modern system where you haven't set it up to go and send the email there, you're probably gonna notice there's not anything of use there. In fact, it might just be completely empty. This is totally normal, as emailing it is not the default behavior. If a distro is doing this, they have decided to do so. Nowadays though, outside of maybe servers and cases like that, the email method isn't really that popular. So going a bit more recent, what you would commonly see is distros logging incidents into a log file. Now, the problem here is the log file location was very distro dependent. So on RPM systems, it would commonly be in /var/log/secure. On Debian systems, commonly in /var/log/auth.log. So at least, roughly the same directory, just a different file. And then OpenSUSE systems /var/log/messages. And then certain distro forks may change it for whatever reason they decide to change it for. And at the time, it just made a lot more sense that if you needed to use the file, you needed to check the file, just check with your specific distro on where it's probably going to be. Or, just check the random files in /var/log and maybe you'll find it. But nowadays, regardless of what distro you're using, you're probably using a systemd distro, in which case you can easily check your logs with journalctl, and it's just gonna be there if any incidents have been reported. Now, when we're looking at a desktop Linux system, you're probably never gonna check your logs because, you're the root user, you're the regular user. If anybody is going to run something that'll cause an incident, it's gonna be you. So why would you check the logs? But in the case of a managed system, there might be reasons to check the logs besides people just trying to break into the system. Here is one case that probably definitely happened. We're just going to assume it is just for the sake of what I'm saying. More or less, the first time I used Linux was on a Fedora workstation at my desk at MIT. The very nice sysadmin down the hall sent me an email just a bit later saying, "We see you are trying to install X program. We installed it for you." I understand that this is a very rare experience, but the first time I saw that message, I knew a helpful person was actually looking at these reports. It sounds like you were able to run sudo successfully, just with a somewhat longer latency. Basically the equivalent of sending them an email and getting it done like that. But if the sysadmin is actually checking the reports, I guess that's one thing that could possibly maybe happen. But if you know that people are checking them, I'd probably do this. When I was in uni, the computer science school actually did occasionally check these reports. Specifically, a guy named Chris checked them. Some friends of mine apparently used this to send him messages. Sudo, hi Chris. So they would see that someone is trying to run the command hi Chris, and that would just be in the log. So if you wanted to, you could just troll the hell out of them with dumb messages. Or, you could skip the ticketing system and just send them a message about something that should be a ticket there instead. Don't do that. Most sysadmins are probably not even going to respond to it, but just use the ticketing system. It's much more efficient. So now you know where the incidents are reported. On a home system, to you. You just don't read them. On a side note, there is something interesting being worked on with sudo. A system by Ferris Systems and Tweed Golf called Sudo RS. This is a rewrite of sudo and su written in Rust. Now, it's not just some random developers doing this. They also have the backing of AWS. I don't really know why you would go about doing this, but they do have their reasons. over the decades, it has become an essential tool for performing changes while minimizing risk to an operating system. But because it's written in C, Sudo has experienced many vulnerabilities related to memory safety issues. I didn't really want to do a full video on this. I just don't really care enough. Maybe I'll do so if it actually gets deployed out to the world, but I just wanted you guys to know it existed. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Did you know how the incidents were being reported? Did you even care about the message? Have you ever seen the message? I would love to know. So yeah, if you like the video, go like the video. And if you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out Patreon, subscribe to LeRoPay, linked in the description down below. If you don't, I'm going to report this incident. That's going to be it for me, and I'm out.
Daytime better call the bet. Ain't playing at your best, then you will get left. If it don't involve money, then I don't accept. If it don't involve money, then I don't accept. Roll a little something like this.